There's a Pirate in the Family, Episode 14, Chapter 19, Grandpa's House. The next day they woke to thunder, and thunder it was. JW had never heard the like. It didn't just go boom and stop. It was one boom after another, like someone beating a big drum in the sky. Katie sat bolt upright in bed and let out a little squeal when lightning hit close by, followed by an ear-splitting coo-rock that rattled the windows. Grandpa was snoring but rolled over when Katie's squeal woke him. He looked over at the kids and said, "Where'd you come from?" and winked at their confused faces. JW and Katie helped Grandpa pack up the truck with all their stuff, including the treasures from the beach. JW wondered what they would do today and asked Grandpa, who said, "Well, the first thing we do is eat breakfast." They grabbed some breakfast at the Wee Blue Inn and were soon on the road home to where Grandpa lived on Sanibel Island. It didn't take very long for them to drive the 50 or so miles, and soon they were waiting to go over the bridge and onto the island. A boat was coming, and the drawbridge was up, so they sat and watched as a large sailing yacht came through slowly. "They must have a motor, too, to be able to move without the sails being up," JW said. "Yup, that's exactly right. It has an inboard motor as well as sails." The boat went by, and the bridge came slowly down into place and locked. The red light turned to green, and within a couple of minutes they were pulling into Grandpa's driveway. It was a big old house, and it looked old, and JW thought it must have been around in pirate days. Katie thought the stuff hanging down from the trees looked spooky and said so. Grandpa began to explain. "They call it Spanish moss, but it's really not moss at all. It's a bromeliad." "What's a brome thing, what?" asked JW. "You know what an orchid is, don't you?" Both kids nodded. Grandpa went on, "Well, orchids are also of the bromeliad family of plants," and he pulled some down from the tree. He pulled some of the plants down from the tree, pulled out his magnifying glass from the yellow bucket so the kids could see the bromeliad better. He then pulled a different-shaped bromeliad from a branch and said, "This is what's commonly known as ball moss, but it's another bromeliad. See the little flower? Come on, let's get unloaded and in the house. The science class can wait till later. I'm thirsty." So, JW and Katie grabbed their suitcases, and Grandpa grabbed a bag and walked up the stairs onto the porch of the old house that was wrapped around 3 sides. On the back of the house was a large screened-in porch. When he got to the front door, Grandpa set down his load and fished in his pocket for the keys. He grabbed the door handle and started to insert the key in the lock, but the door swung open. "What the?" said Grandpa. "I'm sure I locked the door when I left." But try as he might remember if he really had, or just thought he had locked the door. He had been so busy loading the stuff in a hurry to go get the kids at the airport. He might just have forgotten to lock it, so he thought no more about it. He opened the door and walked into the house. "You kids take your stuff up and stow it in your bedroom, and then we can make some sandwiches for lunch." The kids followed Grandpa into the dark, old house, and Grandpa said, "You two are in the bedroom on the left at the top of the stairs. Mine is on the right, and the middle door goes to the attic." "I don't like attics, Grandpa. They have ghosts," Katie said. "No," said Grandpa. "I ran all the ghosts out of that attic years ago," and he winked at Katie, who couldn't help but smile back. JW was first up the stairs, and when he stepped onto the 4th step, it made a loud squeak like a bird that had been stepped on. JW backed down a step and stepped on it again. Squeak, the step made the same loud noise. "Grandpa, you need to fix this step. It sounds like it has loose nails," JW said. Grandpa laughed and said, "No, that's my nightingale stair. It acts as a warning device if anyone comes creeping up my stairs at night when I'm sleeping. Haven't you seen the documentary on the samurai castles? They have specially designed floors that squeak like my stair to warn them of ninja intruders. They call them nightingale floors. So this is my nightingale stair." Silently, JW wondered if Grandpa could hear the stair squeak over his snoring and his fan and grinning. Grandpa seemed to know what he was thinking because he said, "And yes, I can hear it over my snoring," and laughed. JW wondered if Grandpa was psychic too. Soon they had their bags in the big bedroom, and each had chosen a bed. The bedroom was huge. It covered half the second floor of the big old house, and it had a small bath with a shower in one corner. Katie chose the small single bed in a small alcove next to the windows that overlooked the front porch. It had nice curtains that could be lowered to give her some privacy. She liked that. It also had an old-fashioned dressing table with a mirror Katie really liked. She took out her brush and comb and pretended she was Cinderella going to the ball. She sat down looking at herself in the mirror and smiled back at her image. J.W. chose the big bed that was clear on the other side of the room. He took a flying leap and landed on the big bed, which slid up against the wall with a loud U-M-P! J.W. heard Grandpa yelled from downstairs. "Hey, don't jump on that old bed, you'll break it, it's older than me." J.W. wondered how he knew what he had done. After a few minutes of exploring the bedroom, the kids tromped back down the stairs, and squeak the stair went as Katie stepped on it. J.W. grabbed the banister rail and swung up and out, jumping over the nightingale stair. He landed on the floor like a gymnast, spotting a dismount off the parallel bars. He stood raising his arms into the air and arched his back, in the proper pose to finish the effect. Grandpa stood in the doorway to the kitchen and clapped. "Nice dismount," he laughed. J.W. thought about his mom. She wouldn't have laughed. She would have yelled at him for making too much noise. "Come on, you two, and help make some lunch. Then you two can go exploring. I've got 5 acres here, and there's a little spring-fed stream on the back of the property that you can wade in." Soon the 3 of them boiled some eggs, opened a can of tuna, and made huge tuna sandwiches with thick slices of tomato from Grandpa's garden. Katie liked the way Grandpa made them because he chopped everything so fine you didn't notice the celery and stuff so much. He also chopped up red bell peppers and sweet onions that Katie wasn't sure she would like, but when she took her first bite, she found that she did like the combination of flavors. She normally didn't like tomatoes either, but these were much sweeter than the ones Mom got at the market. Katie went on eating the sandwich she had first thought would be gross with all that stuff in it. "Okay, you two, get lost. I've got some orders to pack up and get ready for the mail. According to the email I just received, it looks as if I've sold several dozen shark tooth necklaces while I was away yesterday." "Grandpa, how could you sell something when you weren't here yesterday?" Katie asked. "Well, I have a website that lists all my products. Do you know what a website is?" asked Grandpa. "Yes," said Katie. "We have a computer too, Grandpa. We're not from the Dark Ages." "Well, people order my things online with their credit cards, and then I ship them out. I don't make a lot of money, but it supplements my Social Security. It sure beats working at Walmart or McDonald's at my age. Do you want to supersize that meal?" mimicked Grandpa in a nasal voice, and they all laughed. After they finished their tuna sandwiches and glasses of homemade limeade made from limes from Grandpa's own lime tree, J.W. and Katie set out to explore the 5 acres. Grandpa started pulling packets of shark tooth necklaces from big green plastic tubs on his back porch. The kids had a grand time. J.W. found an old pickle jar and started catching tadpoles and crawdads from the stream. Katie took off her shoes and waded in the cool water. It was an especially warm day, but there was a nice breeze with the smell of salt water. About 4:30, by their new plastic watches Grandpa had given them, clouds started building, and the kids heard Grandpa yell from the house when the thunder started. When they arrived at the house, Grandpa had several boxes packed and set in a chair in the living room. Grandpa said, "Okay, you two into the kitchen and help me make supper." "What are we going to have?" asked Katie. "Meatloaf, baked potatoes, sliced tomatoes, and green beans from the garden," said Grandpa. J.W. sorta liked the meatloaf his mom made and wondered if Grandpa's would be the same. "You two go wash your hands and I'll get started." Grandpa pulled the hamburger meat from the fridge and started rummaging around in the pantry for crackers, but he could only find cheese crackers. "Oh, well," he said, shrugged and brought out the box. He crumbled up the cheese crackers and added them to the ground beef, then broke an egg into the bowl and went to the fridge again for the Worcestershire sauce. He started to shake some into the bowl and the lid came off and dumped half the bottle. "Oops." Grandpa began quickly to mix everything together so the kids wouldn't notice what he'd done. He added some finely chopped onion, but not so much as the kids would notice, and a little bell pepper, also finely chopped. He shaped the ingredients into a nice meatloaf and put it in a pan. As the kids came back into the kitchen, he quickly shoved it into the oven and hoped for the best. He thought if they didn't like it, there was always Mickey D's just over the bridge. Grandpa handed the bag of potatoes to J.W. and told him to wash 3 or 4, wrap them in foil, and put them in the oven. He handed J.W. 4 shiny nails and said, "Stick one of these into each potato and throw them in the oven." "What's the nail for, Grandpa?" J.W. asked. "It conducts the heat into the middle of the potato, and it cooks it faster. Katie, will you brown a piece of bacon in that skillet while J.W. is cleaning the fresh green beans I picked for our supper?" Once the bacon was browned, he told Katie to add some of the chopped onion and cook them for a minute. Then add the beans and some water and put on a lid. The heat from the oven made the kitchen hot even with the high ceilings of the old house. Once everything was set, Grandpa set the timer on the stove and said, "Now, let's take a glass of limeade and go out back until things are done. In fact, we'll eat out there since there's a nice breeze after the rain." They sat out in the Florida room, as the screened porch was called. J.W. showed Grandpa his collection of tadpoles, and Katie told him about their afternoon explorations. In what seemed like forever to J.W.'s growling stomach, the timer on the stove finally began to buzz. They all trooped into the kitchen. "Katie, grab those plates from the cupboard and some silverware. Jimbo, J.W., can you lift the pan of beans from the stove and carry it out? Be careful and don't burn yourself. Set them on the old painted table in the Florida room. That's where we'll eat. I'll get the meatloaf and potatoes from the oven." Grandpa got a basket, put on oven mitts, and tossed the baked potatoes into the basket. He grabbed the meatloaf, balanced it on top of the potatoes, and carried it outside. Soon they were all seated around the little painted wood table, filling their plates. J.W. took a bite of the meatloaf and declared, "Grandpa, this is the best meatloaf I've ever eaten." Katie took a bite and was soon shoveling it down as fast as her brother, making little noises as she ate. "Well, I guess I have a new recipe," then told them about the cheese crackers and spilling the bottle of Worcestershire sauce. They all laughed and kept shoveling in the magic meatloaf, as it is now dubbed. After supper, they all took a hand in cleaning up and washing the dishes. "What are we going to do tomorrow?" asked J.W. "Well, I have some work to do in the morning, and I have to go to the post office to send off some stuff overseas to one of my collectors. You guys can hang around here or go with me," Grandpa answered, giving them a choice. The kids decided they would explore some more and stay around the house. They all went into the living room and watched an old movie on Grandpa's TV. Grandpa had a big collection of movies on DVD, but a lot of them were extremely old. Most were in black and white. They watched an old Charlie Chan movie. Grandpa said they might like it even though nothing blew up and there wasn't a lot of blood. J.W. had to admit it was an okay movie. After the movie, they all traipsed up the stairs and after a bath went to bed. Enjoyed watching Grandpa and the kids on their first day at Grandpa's house? Stay tuned. It is just getting started. A great adventure is just around the corner waiting for J.W. and Katie, and there's a pirate in the family. If you want to see what happens next on this chaotic Florida trip, make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode, and drop a comment below sharing your favorite moment from today's episode.